Okay, so if we start with the specialist round, which was the the one that was scored first on the list I was given. We'll start from that. So, can you all see a grey introductory script?
Yes, I can see it.
Yes, we got
Yeah.
that, Alan.
Okay, right. So these were they're in the same order as they were on the score sheet. So here's the first one, titled Beach Hounds by Steve Dillon.
Yes, I actually liked this image. I thought it was very nice. Love the threatening sky that you've got there, and the actual that you've got somebody on this beach doing something. It was a bit strange when you're judging a competition for negative space, because I kind of felt you were asking me to judge what wasn't there rather than what was there, if you get my kind of meaning. But I enjoyed it, and I thought it was really good. And I also thought that the quality of the images were really high. So yeah, I like this image. I like the separation between the dog walker and everything else in the pictures. Love the water, love the sky. Yeah, that was it.
Diane, would you like to make a comment?
Are you there, Diane?
Press your space bar. Okay. Anybody else like? Sorry.
I thought it was a strong image, and I thought the moody sky really made it. And I like the positioning of the dogs and the woman there. You know, they say look for things like triangles. You've got a perfect one there with the dogs. And the only thing I would have done to emphasize the negative space was to crop a little off the right hand side so that there was even more negative space on the left hand side. But overall, I thought I liked the image.
Okay, thank you. I should point out at this point for people from our club that unlike being scored out of 20, each judge is scoring these images out of 15. So the overall score for this was 21 out of 30. Would anybody else like to make a comment before I move to the next one?
Can I just say, Alan, I completely agree with what Diane said. If it was mine, I would have cropped a little bit more off the right-hand side. I thought that was a very good comment.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? Right, moving on then. Dead Veal author Duncan Hill.
Yeah, I love this image. I thought it was really nice and really evocative, and give you a kind of feel of the environment and a travel photo. So I love the way that the two, maybe three trees were standing out from their background. I thought that with the minimum color palette really helped the trees to stand out. So everything about the image I really liked. I thought it was a high quality image. I thought it was really good, and I was impressed. Hence, I gave it my top score.
Okay, Diane?
Well, the trees are nearly centered into it. Admittedly, it is quite a strong image, but I would have liked to have seen perhaps the left a little cropped, rather than the trees being total center. They took my eye rather than, and they took away a little of the desolation that must be out there. So, you know, I felt there were better images in this one for negative space.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
I'm sure the author would have probably took more than one photograph. And I think maybe he's already got one with the trees more to the left and probably to the right.
Mm.
Right.
I'm normally not nitpicky as far as, oh, it mustn't be in dead center, but I think that the central position took a little away from the negative.
It definitely doesn't have
I
to.
agree.
Sorry, it doesn't have to be either on the left or the right, as far as I'm concerned, because you can still get that feeling of negative space, even with that image in the middle. I don't think there's anything that says it should be on the left or on the right, but I respect your opinion, Diane. We can actually agree to disagree.
We've got no choice now. Right, anybody else? Okay, next one then. Dreaming, again by Duncan Hill.
Yeah, another image that I thought was very good, very well taken. I thought that, well, for me, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more light on the model. Even though it's a dark, low-keyed image, I thought that, you know, a little bit more light would have helped just to bring her out from the background a little bit. There's parts just at the back of her neck where a neck and a hairline start, which are going really dark for me. And I would like to have seen a little bit more detail in there. And there's some of the shadow areas which to me on my monitor aren't defined that well. But it's a nice position, nicely posed. I sometimes think that when you're photographing a model, that sometimes you can make the hands look a little bit awkward, but they look natural and it all looks well set up, and the lighting system seems bright. I think it's more of a Photoshop thing than an actual thing in the studio. I think you could just do with tweaking that brightness a little bit more.
I agree with the lighting, and I felt that it had let it down. She's a little bit dull as far as I was concerned.
Anybody else like to comment? Okay, move on then. Dawn Meditation, George Fiddler.
Yeah, another image that I found a little bit dull, especially around the person. I like the idea and I like the positioning of the person just on the thirds, but I think he kind of blends in a little bit with the really dark rocks and trees in the background. And I think a little bit of repositioning, either you repositioning yourself or moving him further down to the shoreline, may have added a little bit to the image. I do like the light. I think the light's lovely and soft, and I like the luminescence of the water and the light coming off the water. I think is very good. I just think on the actual person, because he is important, he is integral to the picture in my opinion, and the rocks in the background could do with having just a little bit more light on them. But it's you know, it's well thought out image. It's good. I just think you need a little bit more thought would have gone well. And some of the bright spots in the sky, some of the really bright spots to the right hand side, I would possibly like to see those toned down a little bit, because they do tend to drag your eye, when where I really should be focusing on, in my opinion, is the gentleman with the shorts.
This one here, I didn't mind him being a little darker. It is dawn and the light hasn't, well, it's just starting to come through the cloud. I like that. I didn't mind the highlight. I didn't think it was as bad as a lot that I have seen, where it's really glaring. But to me, it was a reflection. The chap is standing there as if reflecting or meditating on another day that is dawning. And I quite like the colours in this image.
Okay, anybody else like to comment?
I agree, and I took it. If you really want to know, it's in Queensland. It's in Port Douglas.
Ah, right.
Is that you with a
4 Mile beach.
Is that you with a ponytail, George?
That's not me. This was taken at about 4:30 or 5:30 in the morning.
Okay, anybody else? Right, next one then. Footprints into the sand, Ivan Sedgwick.
Yeah, I had a little bit of an issue with the horizon. I thought the horizon was slightly slanted, and I thought that that could have been worked on to get it to look straighter. I'm kind of falling out to the left-hand side of the image. The things I do like the fact that you've used the footsteps and as a leading line up to the people. I think that works really well. I think you've got some lovely skies. I may have done a little bit of dodging and burning on the skies and darkened some of the grey bits down in the sky just a little bit and boosted the detail in the clouds.
I thought this was a good composition, and I like the monochrome treatment to it. I agree with the horizon, but I like the textures, and I like the thought that had been put into the composition of this one. And yes, there could have been a bit more contrast to that sky.
Okay, any other comment?
When I looked at this before I include it in the section, I noticed there is some sea on the left-hand side, which levels the horizon up slightly. But if you look at the two people, they are standing straight up and down.
Yeah, but the beach isn't.
I agree, George. I've just taken a ruler to it and measured it, and the horizon is level. It's just the fact that you don't see it because the land is dominating on the slope of the beach.
Yes. Okay. Into the Storm, Duncan Hill.
Again, another good idea with a negative space. I love the way that the sandstorm is blowing into the penguin. I thought that all works really well. I was a little bit, you know, if it was my picture, I may have cloned out that piece of twig or weed or whatever it is in the foreground. I mean, for some of the PAGB competitions, yeah, that's the Photographic Alliance of Great Britain. You can do minor changes to a natural history picture. So for me, I may have done that. Unfortunately, I think possibly the sand for me has softened the image down somewhat. I would like to have seen it a little bit sharper. And knowing Duncan's work, I'm sure it could have been sharper.
I quite like this one. The eye is really sharp, and you know, this is what we look for in nature. And the other thing that, although the light is hitting the chest, there's still textures in there that you can see, and it hasn't really blown them out. I didn't mind a little bit of the twiggy stuff there. I just thought it added a bit more texture, a little bit more interest to the image, and yeah, I quite like this one.
Okay, any other comments? No, moving on then. Midnight Squirrel, Bob Fish.
Yeah, I like the image. I think it's a lovely image. I just think that for me, the dark background doesn't help for me. And you've probably found an image with a dark background and decided to call it Midnight Squirrel to explain why it's got a dark background. But unfortunately, Bob, for me, it doesn't work. I would like to have seen a little bit more detail in that background. And if you look just below his paws, you can see there's a bit of green there. So I don't know whether you've deliberately darkened it down or that's how it was. But for me, it does help the squirrel to stand out. But for me, I would have liked to see a little bit more information, a bit more detail in that background.
Okay.
Sorry, it looks too clinical. It looks like it could have been taken in the studio with that dark background. That was my point. Sorry.
I didn't mind the dark background. I thought it made the animal stand out. Looking at it, the foreground could have been a little sharper in that first rock, but that's being nitpicky. But yes, I agree. I can see a little bit of motley there, but it didn't worry me. to have that motley there. And the animal is so sharp. I thought you did well. I don't know about squirrels, but I remember vividly going to America and being enthralled to see a chipmunk. And as my husband went through all the, oh, must put it on F something and you know, get the exposure right and twiddle and twum, I had it on auto. I got the chipmunk, he got the rock. Chipmunk are gone. And these animals, I think they're pretty quick too. So I think you've done well to get it.
It's super glue, isn't it, Bob?
It was done around about 2 o'clock in the afternoon under flash.
Right.
By the background.
That's why the
It's still a good image, Bob.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was under flash, outside in a forest.
And that's typical of a flash shot, that you can darken the background like that. That's part of flash photography. And I think it's a great image. And I think that the black background makes the squirrel stand out. To me, that's superb.
Right, moving on. Spider on the wall, Ken Sykes.
Yeah, I think it's a lovely spider. I am quite into spiders. So that kind of bit worked for me. And the reason it had such a low score is because I think there was so much, there were so many more images in this particular category that was so much better. And I thought I'd better spread the scores out rather than leaving them all, you know, 10s and 11s and what have you. So hence I spread the scores out a little bit. I would have liked to see a little bit more of the spider. I think it's fascinating, but for me, it didn't kind of work.
I agree. I just felt that the shadow overtook the spider and took out some of the detail. But I liked the background on it. I liked the textured wall. It had a perfect showplace there.
Okay, any other comments?
We got Ken with us.
Yeah, Ken's in, I think. You there, Ken? Do you want to say anything? He was. I haven't got the list up in front of me now. Okay, moving on. Power and the Light, Ivan Sedgwick.
This is a really good example of negative space, and I think it works really well. Well, yeah, you say negative space, but a lot of that space in the background is filled up with the wind farm. I think this is possibly, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Penman Lighthouse, the one at Spurn Point. Is that Spurn Lighthouse or Spurn Point, one of the two? So I think it kind of works well. I do like the space in this, but I just again thought there was a lot of images a lot stronger than this.
I agree, but I like the composition. I think you saw it really well, and I like that faded sort of a lot of windmills or wind farm along there. I thought it sort of gave a little bit more texture to it, a little bit more interest, but yes, I think they were stronger.
What's that? Is it Hornsey 1 or Hornsey 2, that wind farm? Anybody else got any comments? Okay, moving on. Vogue, Alan Key.
Yeah, I love this image. I love the contact you have with the one eye. I didn't feel that it needed two eyes telling the story that I wanted to hear, to see and to understand. And I like the way that her background, the lights, really light grey background goes darker and darker and darker and into that blue. So dark grey to almost black, and I kind of like that. I think you've captured the colour tones in her skin really well, and I love that the striking colours in the hat. So I think that all kind of worked really well for me. Thought it was well thought out and it was a good idea.
I thought it was an excellent background too, and beautiful detail in the hat. But what is the story? Is it about the hat or is it about the girl? And I would have liked to have seen her full face rather than just half face. And I think it would have been more striking with a full face, but that's my opinion.
Okay. Any other comments?
You got any, Alan?
No.
Did you take a photograph of full face?
Yes, I did. That was a well. That's Ellie Baldwinson. I took her ex-church at one of the charity events. Okay, I think that's the last of the Axon ones. So we move on to the Castle Hill ones. Church on the Hill, Rita England.
Hallelujah, we agree on the scores. I like the positioning of the church. I think you've got it on the thirds. I think you've done an excellent job of putting it there. I love the colours. The white and the red are striking and draw my attention straight away. I don't know what sort of rules you're bound by at your clubs and societies, but there's a white post and then there's that black post that looks like a bird on the top of it. I may have just cloned those two out just so we've got the fence at the end and the church, but I love the sky, and I wouldn't have cropped the sky because I think the slice of land and then that big sky adds to the intrigue and adds to me wanting to know more, wanting to know the location for a start, wanting to know more about the picture. I think the title works very well with it.
Yes, I agree with all of that. The church really draws your eye. I love the composition. I love the red roof, and it's just totally a wonderful example of negative space, I thought.
Any comments, Rita?
Thank you.
Okay.
Got a wonderful surname there, Rita.
Right. Next
I've got Rita with us.
Yeah, she's in. Okay, Dead Tree Canola, Fred King.
Yeah, I absolutely want to steal this image. I think the contrast between the yellow canola, is it, and the blue sky works really, really well. I like the fact that you've split the horizon up with that tree, so you kind of joining the two of them together. They're two contrasting colours, and I think it's a contrast that makes them work so well. Please, Diane, don't ask them to chop a little bit more off the right. I think it works perfectly the way it is. It's just off the thirds, I know, but it's just off centre, and for me it kind of works. I find myself drawn to the tree, and I like the fact that the lightest part of the cloud is behind the tree, helping that tree to stand out a little bit more. I think that the shadows in the tree works. I think all the flowers work. I think it's a lovely image.
I agree. And I've seen thousands and thousands of canola images, and this really captured my attention. So yeah, very well done.
Okay, any other comments? I have to say,
Fred is basically our Duncan Hill. He does some amazing images, and you'll see later on in the open some of his composites and so forth. His imagination is unbounded, and any image he takes is just absolutely stunning.
You've also got the complementary colours of the yellow and the blue in the sky, so that works well as well. Right, moving on. Dreaming 2, Peter Robson.
Similar to the picture that I was talking about before with the girl in the red, in the colourful hat, where it was the colours and it was drawing me to here. It's just the lighting on this that's drawing me to it, and you've only got a thin piece of lighting, because a lot of the picture is really dark and really low key. But that again appeals to me. I know in some of the images I said that I would like to see a little bit of detail in the showers, in the shadows. But for me, this works really well. I love the lighting on her face, which has been controlled perfectly. You can tell it could have been bright because one of those cheeks is really bright, but it's not burnt out, and it just adds that little bit of interest for me. I'm intrigued by the picture, and it makes me want to know more. And I'm getting a whole lot of different stories as I'm looking at the picture. It's thought-provoking. It's letting me think about the image, and I think that's the mark of a good photograph. Because I mean, I'm sure that everybody's going to come away from this image with their own story and their own ideas about what she was thinking and what she's doing there, and why he's sitting in a darkened room and all this. But I think it works really well. So congratulations, Peter. That's a lovely image.
Yes, I thought it was very thought-provoking, and I like the profile because she's looking out of the image. She's you're wondering what she is thinking about, and I like the shadowing on her face as well. So yes, well done.
Okay, any other comments? I must admit, I'm really impressed with that. Right, moving on then. Late afternoon flight, Maria Breera.
Yeah, this is a lovely image of an osprey in flight. Love the fact that the background's not distracting it. I like the angle of the bird in the frame. It's nice and sharp. I like the way that the bird is looking into the frame. You know, I think that all works for me.
Yes, it is a very good angle, and it has been well caught. The detail can be seen in every feather. So yes, it's been well done, and they're fast and they're hard to get on the wing, so clearly, so sharp. I thought it was done well.
Any other comments? Okay, moving on. Merriweather Bath, or Christina Hill.
Another lovely image. I like the fact, I like the water, I like the long exposure, and the fact that the water looks all misty and milky. That works well. I like the minimum color palette. I think, you know, all the blues work well, but then that striking yellow door which pulls your eye immediately to the white structure on the middle, and I think it's a bit of clever photography. You've got me looking exactly where you want me to be, but my eye doesn't go to the yellow and rest there. I then feel I need to look around the picture, so it all works well for me, and I think it'll look lovely printed on some art paper.
Yes, I agree. And it could nearly be a painting, couldn't it? I like the way the railing leads up to that doorway, and I like the mystical feel of this one. It's a harsh subject, and yet it's been softened right down, and it's very, very effective.
The fact that that's 29 in red, that's the top score for this round. This was the highest scored image. Any other comments? Okay. Misty Morning, Paul Singh.
Yeah, it looks a bit like an Australian cormorant, if they call them a cormorant. I was photographing these out in Australia myself. I think the background is lovely. I like the hint of the trees and the little island in the background, the hint of the sun just trying to burn through some of this cloud. The cloud helps the image as far as I'm concerned, and then that tree and the reflection, it all kind of works. But again, I thought there were stronger images in this section.
I quite liked it. I thought the reflection made it. And I just liked that sun burning through the fog there. And I liked the graduation of the blues in this one.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, moving on. New Brighton Pier, Christina Hugh. Or who?
Yeah, I love the leading line with the pier to that explosion of clouds on the horizon, which I thought worked really well. I love the contrast between the horizon. If you look on the left-hand side, you can see how light it is, and it gets slowly darker on the right-hand side. So I think that works. I love the patterns in the water as it's coming in and going back out again. I think that works really well. So everything for me, and it's that thing about the color palette as well. That purple and blue color palette really works for me as well.
I love the colours in this image, and I love the leading line going out there, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit more in it. I thought they were stronger images.
It's a bit different from Martin Parr's image. Sorry. Any other comment?
Well, I think Martin Parr's image of New Brighton was on the Wirral. I don't think this is the Wirral.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes. Okay. Right, moving on. Is it Slee Tree, Alan Taylor?
Yeah, similar to what I've said about the other tree picture. Stands out against its background, stands out well against its background. We have again got that minimal color palette. I love the detail in the dunes behind it, but there again, what makes it for me is the shadow on the floor. I think it kind of really works well. And Diane was talking about triangles earlier, and you get a perfect triangle if you go to the end of the tree and back up to the top again. And you've got the triangles there in the dunes, which kind of all work well for me. You've placed the tree on the thirds. It's got plenty of detail in the bark of the tree. If it is bark, I think it's all dead and fallen off now. But you've got plenty of detail in the tree, and I love the shapes.
Yes, and this one is a much stronger image than the first one that we viewed before, in my opinion. And yes, the shadow did make it, and the darker shadow and the little bit of light behind it adds interest to the ground the tree is standing on. I like the shape of this tree as well. I just felt that this was much stronger than the first one that we viewed.
And we agreed with that scores as well, Diane, which can't be bad.
Right. Any other comments? Okay, moving on. Stranger in the Dark, Fred King.
Yeah, we saw an image earlier on with a woman with a sliver of light that was showing up, and I was praising it because of the darkness. This one doesn't quite work as well for me, because I would like to see a little bit more light on the subject. The thing that works really well for me is a cigarette, which looks like it's just floating in midair. So maybe I would like to have seen a hint of hand or something there. That kind of would have worked a little bit better for me. I mean, I still gave it a high score in my opinion, but I think with and I'm only talking about minimal here, with minimal detail, it could have worked a lot better for me. But trust me, if this was on the back of my camera or on my hard drive, I wouldn't be throwing it away.
This one here, on my screen, I can see a little bit more detail when it's fully blown up on my screen. I can see a little bit more detail to the person on his right side, or as we look at it on the left. And yes, the cigarette really makes it. But what grabbed me about this one was the mystery behind it. It just we've got a photographer here that does the black and white in the film style. Forget what he calls it.
Film noir.
Yeah, that's it. And they're powerful images, and I felt the power of this one. I felt the mystery of this one, and so yes, I just thought it must have 15. And my husband looked over my shoulder, and he's a judge too, and he said, "Oh, I think you're being a little generous." I said, "I'm the judge." It's talking to me. So this one certainly, it grabbed me as far as what's going on here, and is this a sinister character? It was just the what wasn't there that was talking to me.
I don't think it is. I don't know whether he suggested it was monochrome. I don't think it is.
No, I didn't say it was monochrome.
Sorry, Diane, my mistake.
Yeah. Because of the red, there's the red flare of the cigarette, and there's grey in the pink in the cheeks.
It was the film noir that caused the confusion.
It was the style. It was the style of the film that that reminded me. And this is the sort of work that York does. But it's minimal. He has minimal detail there, and you're filling the rest of it in the story.
I'm same as Gary. I wish I'd have seen it in the back of my camera.
Right.
As we said, Fred is very creative, and that's Fred's son. And he does a lot of very surprising things. He's very thoughtful. But when this got judged earlier in the year, the comment about there getting a little bit more detail was mentioned. And I guess it is a very subjective thing as to how much detail is needed to tell the story.
Okay, anything else? Okay, moving on. 2. How am I going to produce this? Humozo Harkonnen.
Yeah, I clearly like this image more than Diane liked it. I like it because of the very, very long shadows. Even though it's showing negative space, you have actually got something going on, which is a bit of a contradiction in that negative space. So it's all about the shadows and the patterns in the shadows for me, which kind of work well. They actually lead you in to the people.
I felt there were stronger images than this one, and I would have liked to have seen a little bit more negative space. I thought, it was taking up a fair bit of the image. The 2 people and their shadows are taking up a fair bit of the image.
I believe this photograph might have been taken from a drone.
Or a very big tripod.
Yes.
Any other comments? Okay, moving on. That was the last one then. So what we've got here is a summary of the results for this section coming up. So that was the specialist section. There the judging scores. Axholme 121 and 109, giving a total of 230, and Castle Hill 134 and 133, giving 267.
Congratulations to Castle Hill.
Hey, did you notice the judges were pretty close with the Castle Hill scores?
Yes, I did. But in most of the photographs of Castle Hill, you were pretty even.
Right. Do you want to take a break now, or should
I think we should.
Right. Okay.
We're doing 15 minutes, 10 minutes.
10 minutes, I think.
Okay. we'll be. Will anybody that wants to stay on and talk, you can do. I'm sure. I'm going to put the kettle on and make a cup of tea.